We're not paying that. The moment she said it, the entire room went silent. I was sitting across the conference table, HOA board in front of me, documents spread out everywhere, photos, invoices, damage reports. And right in the middle of it all, a $63,500 repair bill. I took a slow breath. Say that again, I said calmly. The HOA president didn't hesitate. We're not responsible. Right then, I knew exactly what kind of situation this was. They weren't confused. They understood what happened. They just thought they could get away with it. I had bought the lake property about 6 months earlier. You private lake, multiple high-end cabins, wooden docks, boat slips. And one very important detail most people didn't notice. Access control. Every single lake house used the same private road. That road ran directly through my land, which meant something very simple. They owned their houses, but they didn't control how to get to them. I did. At first, everything was fine. The HOA used the lake. Families visited on weekends, boats, fishing, parties. I didn't interfere, didn't complain, didn't create problems. And then the storm hit. The heavy rain, non-stop for hours. The lake level started rising fast, dangerously fast. And that's when the HOA made their move. Without calling me, without asking permission. They opened the drainage system. Manually. Redirected the water. Well, not away from the neighborhood, but straight into my lower farmland. Within 24 hours, the damage was done. Flooded fields, collapsed fencing, ruined equipment, damaged structures. It wasn't minor, but it was serious. I documented everything, took photos, checked the system. And the truth was obvious. The drainage gate had been manually opened. This wasn't nature. This was a decision. Leah's their decision. So I did the reasonable thing. I contacted the HOA, requested a meeting. And now, I was sitting there, across from the people responsible. This damage was caused by your actions, I said calmly. The treasurer flipped through the documents, then looked at the president. And that's when she said it. We're not paying that. I looked at her. Why not? It was a storm, she said, a natural event. I slid a photo across the table. The drainage control system. Locked-in manual override. This isn't natural, I said. As the room went quiet again. But instead of backing down, they doubled down. We had to protect the community, the president said. I leaned forward slightly. Your community or your liability? She didn't answer. Because she didn't have one. Another board member spoke up. That number is excessive. I looked directly at him. It's accurate. Then I closed the folder. He slowly. Calmly. Stood up. Last chance, I said. Silence filled the room. Pay the bill, and we move on. Then the president didn't even hesitate. No. And just like that, the decision was made. So I nodded once. Okay? No anger, no argument. I just walked out. because I already knew what I was going to do next. They thought this was over. They thought refusing the bill ended the situation. But they had forgotten something important. Something critical. On those lake houses? What they owned them. But the only road leading to them? That was mine. And the next morning, I locked it. The next morning, everything was quiet. Too quiet. I woke up early, grabbed my coffee, and drove down to the entrance road. At the same road every lake house owner used. Right there, I installed it. The heavy steel gate, locked, chained. The clear signage, private road, no unauthorized access. Then I went home. Because I knew what was coming. It started around 9 a.m. The first SUV pulled up. There were a couple inside, weekend bags in the back, boat trailer hitched. They stopped. Mott looked at the gate. I called this to very confused. But the driver stepped out, tried the handle. No, today is vacant blocked. He looked around like maybe he was missing something. He wasn't. 10 minutes later, 2 more cars showed up. Then another. When another. Though within half an hour, there was a line. People stepping out of their cars, talking, pointing, trying to figure it out. Or then, someone saw the sign. Private road? Murmurs spread. What does that mean? Is this temporary? Who locked this? And that's when one of them recognized my house up the road. And just like that, they started heading my way. By the time they reached my driveway, there were at least a dozen people. Confused, frustrated. Yo, what's going on? One man asked. Stayed calm. The road is closed. Closed? A woman repeated. We have cabins down there. I know. Then open it. I shook my head. Not right now. That's when the frustration started turning into anger. You can't just block access, someone snapped. I looked at him. It's a private road. Silence. Because most of them didn't know that. Or never thought about it. We've been using it for years, another man said. I nodded. I know. But that doesn't make it yours. That hit harder than anything else. Because now, they were starting to understand. One woman pulled out her phone. I'm calling the HOA, she said. Good idea, I replied. Oh, because I wanted them here. All of them. About 20 minutes later, the HOA board showed up. The same president, same attitude. But this time, slightly shaken. What is this? She demanded. I didn't move. It's a locked gate. You need to open it immediately. I shook my head. No. Her eyes narrowed. You're blocking access to private property. I crossed my arms. No, I'm controlling access to my property. Murmurs behind her. The residents were now paying very close attention. Because the story they were told, wasn't matching reality. "Oh, you're creating a legal issue," she said. I tilted my head. "Actually, I'm responding to one." She didn't like that. "You can't retaliate like this." I looked straight at her. "This isn't retaliation. It's leverage." That word changed everything. Because now it was clear. This wasn't random. This was intentional. The treasurer stepped forward. "Let's just talk about this." "Sure," I said. "We'll pay the $63,500. Silence. Because now the connection was obvious. Residents started looking at the board. What is he talking about? What bill? What happened? The pressure shifted instantly. Panic out and that I can shake off me. I did to this guy and onto them. Don't you? The president tried to regain control. "This is unrelated." "No," I interrupted calmly. "It's directly related." Then I looked at the crowd. They redirected floodwater onto my land. Murmurs turned into shocked voices. They caused over $60,000 in damage. Now the crowd wasn't confused anymore. They were concerned. Because this wasn't just about a gate. But this was about decisions being made that affected everyone. One resident stepped forward. "Is that true?" he asked the board. The president hesitated. That hesitation said everything. But the treasurer finally spoke. "There was a drainage situation that flooded his property?" someone asked. And he didn't answer directly. That was enough. Because now, trust was breaking. Fast. The president turned back to me. "You're making this worse." I shook my head. "No. I'm making it clear." She pulled out her phone. "I'm calling the police." I nodded. "Go ahead." Because I already knew how that would go. 15 minutes later, a patrol car arrived. The officers stepped out. Spoke to her first. Their kaka then came to me. "Sir, we got a report you're blocking access." I nodded. "I own the road." They looked at the gate, the sign. "Do you have documentation?" "Of course." I handed it over. They reviewed it. Then looked back at the HOA president. "Ma'am, this is private property." Her face tightened. "But people need access." The officer nodded. "That's a civil matter." And just like that, everything shifted again. Because now, even the police couldn't help them. Residents started whispering again. "This is serious. What are we supposed to do?" The pressure was building. And for the first time, the HOA board realized something critical. That they weren't in control anymore. And if they didn't fix this quickly, it was going to get a lot worse. By that afternoon, the situation had completely spiraled. The entrance road was still blocked, cars lined up, residents frustrated. And the HOA board? They were losing control fast. An emergency meeting was called immediately. Not scheduled, not planned. Forced. Because now this wasn't just about a repair bill. This was about access. And without access, those lake houses were useless. I didn't go to the meeting. I didn't need to. It's because I already knew what was happening inside that room. Voices raised, residents demanding answers. What happened with the flooding? Why weren't we told? Why is he blocking the road? Most importantly, why didn't you just pay the bill? That question hit harder than anything else. Because there was no good answer. Hours passed. And then just before sunset, a car pulled into my driveway. The treasurer stepped out. Alone. That told me everything. No president, no attitude. Just reality. We need to resolve this, he said. I nodded. I agree. He held a folder in his hand. We had a vote. And? He exhaled. The board approved payment. There it was. With a moment, everything flipped. Not because they wanted to, but because they had no other choice. The residents were furious. Pressure was too high. And for the first time, they understood something simple. And ignoring the problem was more expensive than fixing it. He handed me the document. In full amount, $63,500. There were no negotiations, no conditions. Just acceptance. I reviewed it carefully. Then looked up. The one more thing. He nodded. The drainage system. What about it? You don't touch it again without my written approval. He didn't hesitate. Agreed. Because now there was no room left for ego. We shook hands. It was deal done. The next morning, I drove back to the gate. The same road, same sign, same lock. I unlocked it. Then removed the chain. Did push the gate open, there used hiker, drugs, and just like that, access was restored. Cars started coming through again. Residents passing slowly. Just some nodding, some watching quietly. Because now, everyone understood what had happened. This wasn't random. This wasn't unfair. This was consequence. A few days later, the HOA held another meeting. This one planned. And by the end of it, two things happened. First, policies were changed. Clear rules about external property, access, liability. For second, the HOA president was removed. No vote drama, no resistance. Just done. Because trust had already been broken. A new president took over. Someone quieter, more careful. And a week later, he stopped by my property. Just wanted to introduce myself, he said. I nodded. Appreciate it. We'll be handling things differently going forward. I hope so, I said. And that was it. No tension, no arguments. Just understanding. Because sometimes it takes one mistake to reset everything. As for the lake, it went back to normal. All boats, families, weekends. But one thing had permanently changed. The balance. Because now everyone knew. Those houses might belong to them. But access? That was never guaranteed. And the moment they forgot that, If the gate reminded them, how did you like the story? Please comment and like, subscribe, and share my YouTube channel for more interesting HOA stories.